So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from whichever part of the world you've dialed in. Welcome to this session, which is dedicated to the parents. Why parents? So, as the founder of ProteqMe, I'm a parent of a 12-year-old son, and I mix and I network with a lot of other parents of children with older age, younger ages, and there's been some consistent problems and challenges that have been discussed with us. So, what we'd like to do is through this session, we would like to help parents in securing your loved ones and your innocent children who are online and probably could become potential victims of some kind of criminal activities or some kind of predators. So, welcome to this session of keeping kids safe online. A little bit about Protect. So, ProteqMe is a cybersecurity company. We offer holistic cyber solutions, but more importantly, we are also very focused on giving back to the community. So, in the form of giving back to the community, we work very extensively with children, school children, parents, and institutions, education institutions. So, we work with a lot of schools and universities to educate children. But this session today is dedicated to parents because they play a big role and a very critical role in the child's safety and online security. So, that's a little bit about Protect. What we'd like to do is very quickly take a couple of minutes to introduce ourselves. So as I said, I'm Firuzi Kotwal, founder of ProteqMe, and I have with me today, we are very privileged to have with us today our senior partner, Babak. Babak, would you like to take a few minutes and introduce yourself?
Sure, of course. Thank you, Firuzi. I am Bobak. I'm a programmer, ethical hacker, a cybersecurity researcher, and I'm in this industry for over 15 years now.
Excellent. So with that said, what we'd like to do is we'd like to we'd like to move into the next piece about the role parents play in keeping their children safe online. So I think as all of us who are parents know that children are being exposed to online and internet very at a very early age now, much earlier than what our generation used to. So at a very young age, before they can even understand the dangers, gadgets are accessible to them, gadgets are available to them, the internet is available to them. So irrespective of what age your children are, I think it's a cultural thing that you have to start instilling the right attitude of how to use the internet safely right from the beginning, from early ages. So what we'd like to do is, Babak, if there's anything that you would like to add and give a piece of advice to parents who have children as to why is it important for them and why do they play a critical role in the child's life in keeping them secure online?
So we all know nowadays most of the children like to use mobile phones for gaming, for chat, or for watching movies. So let's say because they are using such devices, uh, the responsibilities for parents in order to keep them protected online. So it is very important for parents to know how to act and how to interact with their children.
Absolutely. And whilst we think that children are the victims, the support comes from the education institute, the teachers, as well as the parents, because kids by themselves would not know anything unless they're being told. So that's why we believe that in a holistic solution that we offer, educational institutions, teachers, as well as parents, where they spend most of the time with parents, play a very, very critical role in securing your loved ones and your children online. So today's session is going to be a lot of tips and techniques that we're going to be sharing with you on how you could have those conversations with your children and how you could make sure that you educate them to know about the stranger dangers that are available today online and that they could be exposed to. So moving on, obviously, as we all know, internet is a world of information. It's a repository of information. All kinds of information is available, good, bad, ugly, right? As kids, there's a lot of curiosity, and as kids, kids always want to know more than what they are told. So internet is the best tool that they can access to get that information. But the question is, how do they know that they're safe and that the information that they're accessing is right for them at that age, that which they're accessing? So that's where I think the parents play a very critical role. So a little bit about this danger on being online by kids. Back over to you if you'd like to add a few things.
Yes, exactly. Everyone knows that childs are very interested in internet, but maybe no one knows why. Uh, I think internet is like Alice in Wonderland, you know, and childs are like Alice, and internet is a wonderland for them. So there are tons of colors, informations, movies, everything. So that is why children like to be online and watch movies, and it is because childrens are very curious about learning things. So this is very important to control how they are online and how they are using these devices.
Excellent. So, having said that, what we'd like to do is we would like to start with the first polling question. So, we have a polling question over here, and if I can request parents to just answer the first question. So, the very first polling question is, what is the age group of your child or children? If you are a parent, and obviously, if you have children, a child or children, can you just tell us what is the age group of your children, if you may? Okay, excellent. All right. So we have about 50% who are below 12 years old, and we have about another 50% who are between 12 and 15. And I think both ages are extremely critical because if the child is below 12 years, that's when they start getting exposed to the gadgets and to the internet. And between 12 and 15, it's the time when they're very, very curious and they're looking for more information. So this webinar is for all of you because obviously, critically, you need to understand what is the role that you play to change your child's life for better and the future and to secure the future. So, having said that, what we do is we just wanted to share a little bit of statistics with you. So, if you see, studies show today that most children are online. Most children are. 40% have spoken to strangers online, which means people that they don't know, and that exposes them to stranger danger. So, question is, do you as parents know what are the dangers online that your child is likely to face? Do you know those stranger danger, areas that you can caution your children against? The next group of statistics shows that 53% have provided their phone numbers or their personal details. Now, this is really, really critical because this is the start of danger. The minute you start providing your personal information, the minute you can get tracked online, that's when they start tracking you. That's when they start connecting with you. That's when they start the cyberbullying and all of it, all the criminal activities that follow. So 53% of children have actually shared their information. 30% have even texted to strangers. And 15% have even tried to meet up with strangers, right? So I'd just like to share a little story with a partner that I was talking to in London, in UK. And she spoke about a 13-year-old who was online and he was actually communicating with somebody who he hadn't seen before, obviously. And that person was actually an ex-convict. He was a child abuser, and he was going online just looking for these kinds of victims, children who used to give information, who could chat with him and lure them out of their house so that he could then, you know, lead it to child trafficking and whatever other criminal activities that follow. So there are a lot of dangers online that parents need to be aware of, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Babak, anything that you want to add over here in the slide?
We will discuss later more about these things in the slides. But I just want to say that, for example, not only they abuse children's, maybe they target to hack into your systems. For instance, they contact your children and ask them to meet. Okay, after meeting, they they act very kind with them and ask them, can you, we want to play a game. Can you put this USB into the computer of your parents without knowing, without they know anything about it? And this game lead to hack your system too. So in many ways, there are dangers, not only abusing children. Maybe you are exposed to risks with that.
Absolutely. Okay, excellent. So, moving on, what we'd like to do is we'd like to ask you a couple of questions, and this is something that you need to answer yourself. That today, when children are exposed to these mobile devices and internet, there's a chemical that the body releases, which is called dopamine. Does anyone know what dopamine does? It actually helps. It's a kind of a drug. It creates addiction in the child, right? It's the same thing when we adults are on the phone the whole time. We call it, okay, we are doing business, we are working online. But what we don't realize is we all get addicted at some point of time. Now we understand the dangers, so we are a little bit more cautious as adults, but children don't. So if they're spending a lot of time online, if they're spending a lot of time gaming, if they're spending a lot of time on the internet, that's the new addiction today, which is equivalent to drugs, if parents didn't know about that. So that's the first danger of the child being online excessively. And we'll talk about how you could control that a little bit later. But then also when they're scrolling, right, and they're coming across certain interesting things, they start to binge watch. And what happens is when they start binge watching, they again they get so involved with social media, with, I don't know, some serials online, that it impacts their personal life, right? They're less outside playing outdoor games. They converse less with parents. Their focus goes down for their studies. If you are any of this parent who's facing these challenges or these problems with your children, then this webinar is definitely for you, because we're going to be sharing some tips that will help you to communicate effectively with your child and to be able to manage and monitor his activity online. Babak, anything that you'd like to add on over here?
No, that was complete, I think.
Okay, so moving on, what we want to do is we want to talk about some general safety suggestions for parents, because obviously today Internet of Things is the way forward. That's the way of the future, right? It's something you cannot stop, because even schools have gone with online learning. So today the schools, education sectors are also encouraging online distance learning. So the use of internet and gadgets is has increased dramatically, right? And in light of that, there are certain suggestions that you as parents could actually execute or implement to make sure that you control the activity, the type of activity, the time of activity, and keeping your child safe online. So Babak, over to you if you want to quickly run through these activities and give them some tips as to what can they do to implement these.
Sure. So first of all, you should know that you should talk openly to your child. I mean, you should talk to them, tell them about everything that they may face online. For example, if someone asks them to do something, you should teach them how to interact with such a situation. Okay. You should keep screens of your devices somewhere that you can watch it. For instance, if you are a mother and you are cooking in the kitchen, you should put the laptop in front of you somewhere that you can remotely control what your children or child are doing. Okay, you should keep control of the family digital footprints, but this is your responsibility as a parent, and there are ways to do that we will talk about all these ways in next sessions. Okay. You should teach your children to keep their location private, and this is again your responsibility as a parent. There are ways to do that. Again, there are apps that you can hide your location, or you can at least, for instance, turn off your location on your mobile phone if it is a mobile phone. You should keep track of online time. This is again very important that you discussed about it. One of the worst mistake that parents uh, do is that they bring up movies on the mobile phones with their children. For example, cartoons. Okay, if you want to, if you want your children to watch cartoon, please do not bring it up on your mobile phone. Put it on the TV. It is the best way. uh, Monitor your child's online relationships. Again, you should talk to your child and make them aware of not to interact with strangers. Okay, ask your child to check with your first before filling in online forms. Okay, so for those who has a bigger child, for example above 12, you should talk to them before sending any information online. Please tell us about it. We can help you. This is the best way that you can interact with your children. They should not send any information to any stranger, any information. Okay. Install monitoring and safety software. Again, this is your responsibility as a parent to install some applications, either you on your laptop or your mobile phone, in order to control those devices.
Right. So, just to Babak's point, for those who are online with us today, there are a lot of techniques and tools and apps that you can use to do all of this. But in the interest of time, because it's only an hour session today, and we are more focused on sharing the tips, we're not going to go into details of those apps and those techniques. So, like Babak said, we will be doing a few more sessions in the future where we will talk about those details. And parents who are interested can try and log in at that time and or reach out to us in person. The biggest thing what I wanted to say is like Babak said, it's about having that relationship with your child. So as a mother of a 12-year-old, I know how difficult it is. Yeah, children want to hide stuff. Children don't want to tell you everything, especially when they're growing up, because there is a fear that if I tell you, you will stop my activity. You will stop me playing with my friends. You will stop me from gaming, right? So it's really important at that point of time to build that relationship. And I think the first one is where you have an open relationship or an open talk with your child is really important to let him know that you're there to support him, not punish him, right? That's the kind of relationship I have with my son. I always tell him, if things go right, good for you. If things go wrong, I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. Anything that you do, I need to know so that I can help you, guide you, and make the internet a safer place for you. So I think that's really important for parents who are online. It's the type of communication you have with your child and the relationship, but it's also a little bit of that educational aspect that you need to bring in to educate them, right? So what we will do is we will take the questions at the end for those who have any questions, because we just wanted to first go through the tips with you. So moving on, what we'd like to do is we just like to share some dangers that children face online today and how to protect them. So the very first danger that children face today online is social networking, right? When you talk about social networking, obviously the social media platforms are the first ones that come up. So if you see on the right the numbers of, today, the even small children, like for example, if your child is going to a nursery, how often do you give your child a mobile phone to see nursery rhymes, for example, on YouTube? Right? So if you see, the numbers are really, really high when it comes to YouTube, because 85% of children today are on YouTube, 72 on Instagram, 69 on Snapchat, and it goes on, right? There are many other platforms over there. So what's the danger to your child if they go online? Or what's the danger to your child if they go into social media? So that's these are the dangers. They may end up giving up their personal information, the physical address, their age groups, their personal details, their parents' details. And I've known children who've actually even given out the parents' details and the location where they stay innocently, right? Information about their hobbies. So what happens when this information goes out? What do you think happens when the information goes out? Yeah, that's where the hackers, or that's where the predators make the most of it, and that's what they use against the child and against the parent, right? The worst part is internet. If you put something on the internet, it can never ever be deleted. So anything that's put out there remains forever. You can try to delete it, but it never gets deleted. And the repercussion or the consequence of that is, someday when your child grows up, 5 years, 10 years later, it will come back to haunt him. So, as parents, if you are a parent, this is the time when you start monitoring and you start securing your child's future. Yeah, it's really important. So, these are some of the dangers of social networking. What I'll do is I'll hand over the next slide to Babak to talk about the suggestions on how parents can actually overcome those challenges and keep their little loved ones safe. Over to you, Babak.
So how we can avoid this? Limit personal information. So you as parent should limit all the information on your mobile phone. For instance, do not save your name, everything on the forums. Do not use your real name for registration on games. Okay. Set your child's profile to private. This is something that you can search online to learn how to do that, or we will talk about it in our next sessions. Withdraw any address details and use the no picture forwarding function. Most of the social medias has a privacy protection, so try to use them in order to protect your privacy. Never share passwords. Teach your children not to share their password with anyone. We will talk about cyberbullying, but bullies can make a situation for the child to show their password. Okay.
Thank you. So, for those who want to learn these techniques on how do you, set up the child's profile securely, how do you withdraw details from the internet, how do you use the no picture forwarding function? Of course, you can Google for that and you can find information. But there are techniques that you can use to secure your child using these functionalities, and we will talk about those in our upcoming session. So, for those who are interested, please keep your eyes out and open for our next webinar where you can register. So, moving on, the next part of the danger that we are talking about is unwelcome contact, right? And this is really the stranger danger where your child doesn't know the other person on the other line. He cannot see the other person on the other line, and he's just chatting, assuming that the other person online is the same age and of the same interest that he is, right? And that's the best way to make friends with children, right? You show them that you are their friend. So, again, as an adult, do you know how much information your child is giving out? And without consent, without your knowledge, do you know how much of your information is there? Do you know how to track that information? Do you know how to look for that information? How do you discover those details that he has already given out online? How do you make sure that your child's posts are not being used abusively or in a hostile manner, right? A lot of predators, they're creating fake profiles. Do you know who they are? Do you know the man behind the name? Do you know the person behind the name? Do you know the email ID that he's using to send maybe inappropriate information or pictures or sites, luring your child to the wrong kinds of sites and information that your child should not be accessing at that age? Correct. So this is a bit about the stranger danger where your child doesn't know who he's talking to or who he or she is connected to. And then what happens is, in the name of friendship, sometimes they will convince them not to discuss it with the parents. They will convince them not to talk to their parents or inform their parents. So the question is, do you know how much of your child's information is out there? How much is he giving out every time he's chatting with someone? Right? So there are techniques again, and there are tips on how you could protect your child around that. Babak, over to you for the next one, where we are also going to talk about cyberbullying. So, as a parent, I talk to a lot of parents, and a lot of parents don't know what cyberbullying is because they're like, "Oh, my child is at home. I'm at home, so he's secure. He's safe. I don't think he's being cyberbullied." So, do you want to first just tell us what is cyberbullying and what are the
Sure, of
signs that
course.
they should be looking out for?
So threat actors bullying people in order to get information out or in order to make them do something that they want by bullying. Okay, this is called cyberbullying. When an online actor, threat actor, tries to convince you or tries to bully children in order to make them do something, this is called cyberbullying. uh, no longer using the internet or checking their phone. Okay, so what you see when children are cyberbullied, how you can understand? Yeah, so there are some symptoms that cyberbullying has for children. For example, they no longer use their internet. Okay, they don't eager to use that. This is weird because children like internet. They want to use mobile phones in order to surf the internet. So if you see changes that they are no longer going online, this may be an effect of cyberbullying. Maybe showing a stress when they get emails. Okay, so you as parents can understand very easily when your childs are stressed. Okay, withdrawing from family and friends. Okay, this is another symptom of cyberbullying. If you see these changes suddenly in your children, okay, you should be aware that something is wrong. Not wanting to go to social or school events, showing signs of low self-esteem, having declining grades, or losing their appetite. Okay, these are all the symptoms. Cyberbullying is online, but maybe bullying happens in the school. So you should track it too. Why your children are not acting like before.
Yeah. So I think cyberbullying has become very rampant because I think the whole world has gone online. I think prior to that, it used to be children just bullying each other, and we used to call it ragging. So they'll pick on one child, and then everybody will start to pick on him and bully him and make fun of him and poke fun at him and basically degrade him. And for parents who are online today, the same thing happens online, right? I know of a parent whose child was. Everybody ganged up. All the friends ganged up against this one child, and online they were bullying him, online they were abusing him, online they were calling him names, to the extent that they even logged into his account and they changed his name to something that he was embarrassed about. And this really happened to a friend of mine. She had a child, a son, was about 8 years old. The child stays in my building. He came crying to my house one day, and then when we asked him, he said friends had gotten into his account because they asked him for his account details. He innocently shared his account details. They went into his account, logged in, and they named him something which is really very weird. I don't even want to say it here. And so what had happened is everybody then was teasing him because of that name that they changed. It was just a name that they changed in his account. And the friends did it innocently as a prank. But what happened is he then started to get bullied by all other friends because everybody was poking fun at him. Right. And then, like Babak said, then it leads to all these symptoms because he doesn't want to be online then. So good for parents if he's not online playing games, but you do want him to be online to study, right? But if he's not, if he's worried about going online, then that impacts his grades, impacts his attitude, his lifestyle, his relationships. So you do need to look out for all of that, right? So the next thing what we want to talk about is the unwelcome contact suggestions for parents, right? So basically, as you can see on the right side of the screen, the most common types of cyberbullying is offensive name calling, like I just gave you the example, spreading false rumors. Let me give you another example. So my son was one day physically, three of his friends were sitting and playing an online game, and one of his friends had the controller. So when the friend had the controller, he made a very nasty comment from his account about his mother, which was about me. And my son got blocked and locked out of the gaming program for 7 days. I had no clue what was happening in the room because they'd shut the door. There were three friends together. Suddenly, my son comes out running, crying that I've been locked out of my game. And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Well, this friend of mine, he made a nasty comment about you. And so the game locked me out for 7 days." Now, from that day, I learned a lesson never to let them shut the door, right? I said, the screen has to be somewhere, like Babak said, where I can see. And ever so often, I go in and I check to see what they're doing, if they're together, playing together, right? So that's a little bit about spreading false rumors, receiving unsolicited images. So a lot of times, today with Photoshop, images can be edited. It may not be a real image. They will edit it and they'll make it unsolicited and they will send it to the child, blackmailing the child, right? Online. So lots of these things happen. Physical threats. If you don't do this, if you tell your parents, this is what we will do to you, this is what we'll do to your parents, children get scared, right? And then, of course, sharing images without consent. So a child wakes up in the morning, takes a selfie, uploads it on social media, saying, "Hey guys, see, I've just woken up," and the child is in the pajama. You don't know who's looking at your child's pictures. You don't know who's doing what with those pictures, right? So a lot of these criteria contribute to cyberbullying. So as parents, you want to be very aware as to what is that journey, cyber journey your child is going through. Every step of the way, you want to support them, you want to monitor them, and you want to make sure that they're safe. Babak, over to you if you want to just talk about suggestions for the parents.
Yeah, they can tell them that they should ignore all contents. For example, if they are putting their information for a game, they are filling out the profile. Mostly, they ask you to help them, but there are some games that ask questions. Okay, so you should teach them not to give high sensitive information to any online platform. Okay, and you as parents should remove your child's contact information from that social media, from that uh, game platform or whatever. Real contacts are very dangerous, okay? Because even if those social medias are trustable, if they got hacked, the contacts will be exposed everywhere. Okay, so be careful. not to put all of your information or child information online.
Right. So moving on, what we'd like to do is the third threat that you're talking about for your child is the inappropriate content, right? So how do they access that content? It could be through search engines, right? When they're looking for something legitimate, they might come across a link which is inappropriate. Now, they may not know what that link includes, but when they click on it, it obviously takes them to somewhere where the information is inappropriate. So the question is, do you want your child to be exposed at that age to that kind of content, adult content or whatever it is? Again, if a pop-up comes up, or if it's a hyperlink that links from one website to the other, do they know what to do, how to click on it securely, or should they download, should they click, should they open it, should they give that information that the pop-up is asking for? Do they know? Do you know the difference between junk mail and spam mail and genuine mails? Can you identify that today? Right? Playing online games. Again, one game leads to another, leads to another. Today, there are lots of free online games. The question is, how much of it is really free? Because nothing, I always say there's nothing like a free meal. If they're giving you something for free, they're taking something back from you. And most times it's the information. So you don't know if it's a real gaming app that they're giving information to, if it's a hacker that they're providing information to, right? So these are certain techniques that what we will do is we will cover in details in our upcoming webinars. For those who are really interested in knowing how do you identify these threats, how do you identify, the authenticity of websites, the authenticity of the links, attachments, pop-ups, emails. We have a full dedicated session coming up in the future. So stay tuned, look out for it, and you can register, and we'll share some techniques with you. So, Babak, any tips for the parents on this area of threats?
Yes, there are some applications again that you can install on your laptop or your mobile phone and use them in order to filter out the operation.
Right. So, obviously, when we are talking about suggestions for these kinds of things, we spoke about it in the past. Monitor your child's use on internet. See how many hours they're spending. What are the sites they're visiting? Um, I've basically, for example, set up my son's account using my email ID. So what happens is every time he surfs the net or he goes to a YouTube or he even takes a picture, it gets saved in my gallery,
Mhm.
right? So I have a full details about what he's doing, what is he surfing, which sites is he visiting. So it's really, really important that you have these little tips set up where you have control over your child's access and activities online, right? Again, teaching them the strategies. So you educating them is really important. If you're going to shout at them and you're going to scold them and you're going to punish them, they're going to stop talking to you, right? So it's all about you understanding the dangers of the child being online and then educating him to take care of himself and take responsibility for himself to be safe online, right? There are certain filters that you can install on your computers. We are not going to go into details today because of the lack of time, but we'll talk about it in our future sessions. Bookmarking certain approved sites. So, Babak, how do you bookmark certain approved sites if a parent wants to do that?
So there are options in your browsers that you can bookmark uh, a website address, for
Right.
example, a gaming website, and then put that bookmark on your desktop, and ask your child when you want to play, just click on this. Do not go to browser, write down something in the browser URL, okay? URL address of the browser. So there are other ways as well that in the browser itself that you can filter out. Browser has some filtering options in the settings if you go. And I just wanted to tell you about a very important thing on your browser. So there is something, an option called history. You can check the history on the browser. So when your child hand over the computer or your mobile phone, you can go to the history to see what websites he or she has surfed. Okay, so this way you can understand what has he done on your device, what websites he has seen.
Right. In most countries, there are, and in the last slide, we will share this, but in most countries, there are ways you can actually report and you can ask for help. For those who are online, and if you don't know these, feel free to reach out to us. We have a team of experts who can always advise you, who can answer any questions that you would have even after the session. So we will share our contact details, and you can come back to us if you need any help in the future as Q&A. So that's a little bit on how do you keep them online. The biggest challenge for most parents is the online gaming, right? So a lot of people don't realize that the games are free, but later on, when you want to upgrade, later on, when you want to buy something, a gadget, a tool, a costume, your child has to pay money to buy, right? Because there's nothing for free, and the games are designed that way, where they will give you something for free, and then they will charge you money. But more importantly, it's the information that they gather from you, right? So again, what are the devices that they're using to game? What is the rating of the game? So, Babak, do you want to talk about a little bit of, security functionalities or tips for parents? Because I think today most
Sure, of
parents
course.
face this problem
Yeah,
where children are gaming day
let
and
me
nights.
talk about something very important. The game itself, I mean the contents of the game. So you should see the game name, rating, and the game name explanation on the internet. You should search about the game. What game your child is playing. You should know the contents, no violence, no bad things in the game. And the game has the age, just like movies. So be aware what game your children are playing. It is very important. Keep gaming equipment in a supervised area. This is something that we call it sandbox in the PC or laptop or whatever. So Sandbox is an application that you can limit the access of other applications when you're running it on your operating system. If you use Sandbox, game doesn't have access to other areas of your computer, to other folders on your hard disk, for example. Be aware of other locations. You should keep your locations and watch it. Okay, so if the game is coming from other location, it is very important to see what is the language of the game. We will talk about it later more. Know the safety features. You should know how to enable antivirus on your system. You should know how to filter out bad words on your system. So there are applications for this too. Set safety features and parental control. Again, there are applications that you can install and log everything that someone has done to your system. So if your children is playing, it will log out every chat and you can watch it later. Again, you should play with your child. This is really hard, I know, but it is needed to play with your child the game in order to know what is the concept of the game, and teach and talk to your child. Use voice masking. This is something that uh, for bigger communities it is needed, to my idea, but some think that it is not needed. Okay, we can go to the next slide.
Right. So, moving on, again, like we said, where do you get help in the UAE? So, for those who have dialed, so for each country, you'll have a helpline, you'll have government institutions that can help you. These are just some helplines for the people who've dialed in from UAE, because most of our audience is from here. So you have obviously the digital well-being support line. You have professional advice dedicated from experts. You have the local police service who you can report to if you come across something like that. But also, like I said earlier on, you can actually use us and our experts if you have any questions that you would like to ask. So what we would like to do is, very quickly, having spoken about this, we'd like to ask another question to all of you. It's a polling question again. So can I take a couple of minutes for you to answer this question, please? Do you, as parents, use tools to monitor your child's or children's safety online? Do you, at the moment, do you do something? Do you use any kinds of tools or apps or techniques that you monitor your children's activity or safety online? Okay, so good to know. 100% parents said yes. So very good to know. Oh no, okay, it's 50%. No, it's the number's changing. Okay, so 33% says yes, 67 says no. So thank you for being honest, because what happens is a lot of time parents are busy. Either they're busy with their work, they're busy networking, they're busy with their home housework or whatever it is, and it's very little time we spend with the children and their online activities. So if you're not using tools, like Babak said, please stay tuned for our upcoming sessions. We are going to be doing a few more sessions where we are going to be sharing the kinds of tools that you could potentially use to make sure that your kids are safe online, right? So, that having said that, what we'd like to do is, how do you protect your children online in addition to the institutions? Babak, over to you if you'd just like to give a very high level guidance on what can parents do and what is the role they play if they have
Yes,
children at home.
there are online protection tools that parents can use. Uh, some of them are just like antiviruses. You install it on your system or your mobile phone. You make configuration, set it up, and then you're done. It monitors everything and it keeps everything safe. Getting involved in kids' online activity again, we discussed about this many times. You should interact with your kid online. Okay, you should be online with your kid when he's playing, when he's doing something. Basic guidelines for parental supervisions includes many things, but for example, again, one of them was that you should watch remotely the monitor. Okay, this is one of them that we can take example. Warning signs of a child being uh, again, it is some options on the tools that you can enable it, and the internet and teens that you should protect teens from the internet. Again, there are tools for that specific age that you can use.
Yes. And I think overall, I think as a parent, what you do want to do is you want to have that open communication channel with your child, right? You want to have a relationship where the child is comfortable coming to you and confiding in you if he's being cyberbullied, or confiding in you if he's accessed the wrong kind of information, or letting you know if he's put out that information out there, even by mistake, right? A lot of times parents don't know because children are scared. Children are scared to tell the parents because they are scared of being punished, right? So how you maintain that relationship and that open line of communication is really, really important. So talk to your kids more often. Make sure you spend time with them. If they're gaming, be with them. Check out what they're gaming, what is the app, who are their friends, who are they chatting with. Be a part of their lives rather than just trying to punish them and question them and interrogate them, right? So that's a little bit about how do you protect your children online. So moving on, certain things that you would want to remember. I think we've just spoken about it. Keeping an eye on what your child does, and who he's connecting to on the internet. Teaching your child some strategies on how to protect themselves online. Now the problem over here is most parents don't know how to do it. So if you don't know how to do it, how are you going to teach your child, right? So again, watch out for our upcoming webinars. We'll give you a lot of tips and techniques on how you could do it. But the first thing is you need to educate yourself as a parent. And the more information you have, the more you will pass on to your child. The more security aspects you are aware of, the more your child will be aware of, and then you will be able to protect your child. So that's really important. Your child should obviously only make online contact with people that they already know of. Avoid strangers. I think this is something we tell our parents before the Internet of Things. Somebody gives you a chocolate in a supermarket, don't accept it, right? Because by giving you a chocolate free, they will get something, try and get something from you. Today, it's no longer a chocolate. Today, it's that information that they give out online. So you need to instill those values in them, saying don't connect with strangers, don't give out that kind of information that's sensitive to us, that's personal to us, right? Again, there are lots of sex offenders online, leads to bigger criminal activities. So a lot of criminals, a lot of hackers, a lot of predators who are scouting the internet for these kind of vulnerable children, right? And then what they do is they lure children out of their homes, and it leads to child trafficking, human trafficking, right? cyberbullying. So be very aware of those kinds of predators who are online, who will pretend to be the age of your child's age, right? And please report everything that you come across to the authorities, because you'll save another child, you'll save another family, you'll save another life, another future, right? So reporting is again really, really important. Um, what I'd like to do is, before we move into the final benefits of our program, we have the last polling question, which I would like all of you to answer. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to ask you to answer this last question for me, please. So there are two questions. Do you know what your children are doing online? And would you like to learn how to monitor online activities of your children? Okay. So most of you know what your children are doing online, which is good to know. And I think 100% of you said you would like to learn on how to monitor your children's online activities. So what we will do is, first of all, of course, thank you for your feedback. We will come up with a few more sessions and webinars on teaching you how you can actually do that. How could you monitor your children's activity online? Um, in our webinars, the benefit of our webinars obviously is, one, of course, you learn about the stranger danger that the children face online, including your child and every other child that's online today. How do you foster a healthy online internet habit? So, like Babak said, there are lots of tools, lots of apps, a lot of applications, secure applications that you can actually use to secure yourself and your child online and your family. So that's the advantage of coming to a session. Again, we are going to be forming an exclusive committee, basically a community for parents online on our Facebook page. So all of you will get a feedback form after the session. It's an automated form that you would get. Please, we'll appreciate if you could give us your feedback. And then we will also invite you to join our Facebook community. There we will be sharing a lot of tips and techniques and apps, and we'll give you a lot of information in the community for parents who are genuinely interested to know and implement. So be a part of the community, be a part of securing your child, your child's future, and other children's future. Yeah. And then the in the community, we will also be having short quizzes to see, what do you know, what don't you know, what more do you want, what less do you want to know of. Teaching you techniques on how do you come up with that agreement, a tech agreement with your child, that your child is comfortable talking to you and communicating with you. Parental guide on cybersecurity. So we have a lot of, we've created a guide dedicated to parents, which includes a lot of action points that you can actually take to secure your child's future. And then obviously we'll have some online classes where we will teach you how to actually go and secure your child online while he's online, either whether he's gaming, chatting, learning, whatever it is. Babak, anything that you would like to add on as benefits?
No, if the audience has any question.
So I don't see any questions, which is a good sign, because I think that just means that our session was really good and targeted, and I think they got what they were looking for. So what we will do is we will just end with saying that if session has added any value, the feedback that you will get after the session, if you can please indicate what is the one thing you took away and what is the one thing you would like to know more of. So in the future sessions, what are the other topics that you would like to learn about or you'd like to know more about? Right? So I think with that, we would like to thank all our participants. And Babak, thank you so much for
Thank
making
you,
time
and
and
thank you,
coming
the
to this session.
participants. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks for joining.